This is ILLUMENATE, the podcast about men with good hearts, open minds, and a desire to make the world better. Welcome to ILLUMENATE. I'm your host, Chris Tidrick, and I'm excited to welcome Anthony Delgado to the show. Anthony is a driven 31-year-old father who has explored more than most. He always does his best to channel a passion for fitness, combat sports, and self-development into all aspects of life. He currently works in sales by day, personal trains clients at night, and is always seeking challenges to grow as a man. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Welcome. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. The thing I'd like to do with all of our guests is kind of jump into this question of motivation. For me, it helps me understand a person kind of right off the bat, especially somebody who I've just met. What's your why? Where do you find purpose and what drives you?
I find my why in being someone that my kids are proud of. More importantly, as a father, I think it's really important to be someone that your kids look up to and that they find purpose in. So that's been my number one why for the last 10 years. So I have a 10-year-old now. And mainly just seeking things that add to the life experience, that add to my plate and fill my cup in all the ways that I can find. Motivation, I've come to find out, is something that can be very fleeting and hard to nail down. So setting a goal, setting a plan in place, and just doing what you said you were going to do and maintaining the discipline coupled with that goal, I've found to be the really true way to push myself to maintain my motivation, if you will.
Yeah, excellent. Fatherhood really does change your perspective on things, doesn't it?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
I've got a 22-year-old son, so it's I know exactly what you're talking about. It completely reframes your entire life. So
Absolutely.
let's talk a little bit about your life and your journey and how you got here. Start wherever you want, and give me a sense of your journey so far.
So we could go back to when I was 18. I moved out when I was 18 with my high school sweetheart. We started a life together from nothing and educated ourselves, worked, pursued passions, pursued dreams. I had my daughter when I was 21, so shortly a few years after that. Pursued a career in oil and gas in the heavy equipment space. I got into the trades mainly by a function of knowing that I would have a job and have a skill that I could translate to many places around the world. Not really passionate about it though, or really caring for it. I spent plenty of time doing that right up until COVID hit. That was when my life kind of pivoted and things changed, and I went back into the sales world that I worked in from, I would say, the first three years of my life, from 18 to 21, and I've been down that path, which has been really explorative for many reasons. It's been explorative not just from doing something that I actually cared more about and put more passion into, but having more time, stepping back from just grind, work nonstop, with crazy schedules, crazy hours, to really pouring back into me and things that fill my cup and that I find purpose and value in and that drive me and that I feel like I'm contributing to in the world in a greater sense of good, if you will.
Yeah. So what have those things been?
The main thing that's been for me lately, when I found martial arts, I found a renewed sense of, I want to say, love for fitness overall. I had always dabbled in fitness. I'd always dabbled in the gym here and there. I'd always been, in and out and interested in fitness and athletic pursuits. I grew up a really big sports fan, a really big combat sports fan as well. But I never pursued any of those things. I never actually put my effort or threw my hat in the ring and actually engaged in any of those things growing up. I grew up really poor, so I didn't have the opportunities to play sports or do the things that I wanted to do as a kid. And then I started working, and as an adult who has a kid on the way and who's working to support a family, working to support themselves out in the world on their own, sports and hobbies and athletic pursuits and stuff like that kind of fall at the wayside. They're not a priority, if you will.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
when I found combat sports and martial arts towards the end of COVID, I found a new sense of love for fitness, and not only just fitness, but I found a new sense of love and passion for helping others find that why, find their why, and find something that really drives them and gets them to where they want to be. As a coach, as someone who's been coaching clients, personal training clients for the last it's been almost a year since I had my first client last February. As someone who's been coaching for almost a year, I found that the biggest reason or the biggest struggle people have when it comes to maintaining their fitness, their health, their body, it's always something outside of just I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't know how to eat healthy. I don't know what exercises to do. All the information can be found, or it can be found in someone that can take you to these places. It's always something deeper. It's always something,
Yeah.
whether it's a limiting belief within themselves or trauma or a bad relationship or something. It's always something deeper, and helping people overcome that thing that's been itching and biting at their neck and keeping them back this whole time. That has brought me so much joy and brought me so much purpose to see my clients roaring and ready to go at the gym, waiting on me to get there, excited for their workouts, ready to come in and put in work. Because as they start out kind of, nervous, kind of shy, kind of not really sure of themselves. But this beautiful person just begins to blossom and open up and come out, and their
Yeah.
real person starts to shine through again. And it's really cool to see what, just going to the gym a few days a week, working with someone and overcoming some of these monsters and obstacles that they've built up in their head.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful to see that person come out and shine.
Yeah, I think it's that really is a great parallel. Like the work that I do at work, I do a lot of coaching. I lead a team of like 36 people, and I do a lot of coaching in there, and
Yeah,
there's always a why under the why under the why, right?
always.
It's never the issue that they bring into the room on the surface. There's
Mhm.
always something underneath, and so it's isn't it satisfying to sort of help somebody dig that out a little bit?
Oh, it's so great. It's so great
Yeah.
because people start to answer these questions for themselves sometimes. They start to realize, well, maybe turning to these terrible processed foods or crappy snacks in the middle of the night might not be the best coping mechanism. Maybe, but why am I wanting to do that? Well, because I'm stressed because I'm up working late. Well, why am I up working late? Well, because I'm trying to support my family, or because it's a snowball effect of things
Yeah.
that lead to these poor decisions. And when you start digging and uncovering those layers, you start to find out what's really going on. And I just love helping people address those root cause issues and just pluck those things out and get on with their life in the healthiest, best version of themselves.
So have you found anything that's sort of specific to to personal fitness that helps people do that versus, there's a lot of different ways to sort of get to the monsters in your in your soul,
Yeah.
but how does personal fitness bring that out?
For me, I think it's been doing hard things. When you put yourself in tough environments and tough places, and I didn't create this on my own. I stole this directly from David Goggins, who I take a ton of inspiration from. I don't follow to a T, but I take a ton of inspiration from in a lot of good ways. And it's do hard shit. When we put ourselves in a place to do hard things, and we do
Yeah.
things that are tough, that are mentally tough, it makes doing all these other tasks, at least for me personally and my clients that I've worked with, makes all these other hurdles so much easier to face and so much easier to overcome. And it might sound silly. You're telling me if I go to the gym and I lift these heavy weights and I breathe hard and I sweat and I put myself under, stress, it's going to make these other things easier in my life. Not in a one-to-one scenario, but it makes these things such smaller mentally to face, because a lot of our challenges and a lot of our hurdles are up here. They're not actual physical tasks or things to do. It's up here. And getting out of here and into our body for so many people, even myself included, does wonders.
Yeah, perseverance through suffering builds resilience,
Absolutely.
right? And
Absolutely.
working out and working your body really hard
Oh,
is
yeah.
a form of suffering, right? It's intentional suffering in a way.
Yep. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And that translates over into the martial arts world as well. The brotherhood that comes from that, the camaraderie that comes from that, the suffering and struggling together in the pursuit of helping each other achieve greater things and be better goes so far.
Yeah. So let's talk about your own growth. You've been talking about like helping other people grow
Yeah.
and get out of their, get through the things that are challenging for them.
Mhm.
You know, I think your story, it seems like there was a lot of challenge kind of earlier in your story, and maybe even continuing today that, you still have challenges that you're facing. One of the things about personal growth that's like just it comes out in like every story of anybody I talk to is this idea that sometimes you have to deconstruct what your foundation was before in order to grow into what you're going to be. So can you talk to me a little bit about the things that you've had to deconstruct as you've gone along in your journey?
I think one of the best places to start with that would just be facing mental. How could I better put this? Facing societal norms and predisposed ways of thinking from my childhood or from my youth and growing up. Growing up in a really toxic environment with toxic influences, whether it be extremely toxic relatives, friends, or even classmates, teachers, you name it. Having bad influences around you really does a number on how you see the world. So having to take the time, in my 20s to deconstruct how I view certain things, but not only how I view certain things, why I view certain things the way I do, taking some of my most strongly held opinions and questioning them, putting them to the fire, putting them under scrutiny. Why do I feel this way about this thing? Why do I have this mindset about this thing? Why do I think this thing is X? Scrutinizing my most strongly held opinions has helped me not only open my mind to more concepts and more ways of living, but it's helped me open my mind and my heart to more people and the way that they see the world. I used to be really set in the way I saw the world. This was this, that was that. I was a really hard headed individual. There's no budging me off of when I had my
Yeah.
mindset on something, I was set. I have taken so much time and effort and put in so much time and effort, mainly due to a lot of motivation from my partner. If I didn't have the woman that I've had in my life for the last 13 years, I wouldn't have done a lot of the work that I've done interpersonally. And taking some of my most strongly held beliefs and challenging them and asking myself, really digging deep, does this thing make this person this, or does this thing make this person that? And just realizing these things are just rooted in hate, they're just rooted in division, they're just rooted in seeing people differently. They're just rooted in really toxic things, and they don't really serve a greater purpose, they don't serve a greater good. And I felt like a much happier, better person since I've faced these things and since I've eradicated them from my life.
Yeah, tell me, let's dive a little bit into this idea of like toxicity because
Yeah.
I think that is a word that gets thrown around
Mhm.
like really loosely now. And in some ways, people use it to describe like all men's behavior.
Right.
And like I don't believe that all men's behavior is toxic, but there's certainly a level of toxicity in men's behavior in our society today that is there and undeniable. So
Okay.
like what give me some examples of what you mean by when you talk about toxic behavior in relatives and teachers and people around you.
I'll give you a really pertinent one. One that one that's very, very relevant for me. So, working in the oil and gas sector, you come across a wide range of people. I've worked with people from many different nationalities, many different races, from many different places, many different socioeconomic backgrounds, many different education backgrounds. At any given time on location, we would have engineers with 8-year degrees, some even higher, that spent more time in college, to guys that didn't even pass high school, right? They don't even have a GED or a high school diploma. So you come across a wide range of people. I'll never forget going out to a location one day. I was a service technician on location, so I had a service truck. I had a mechanic's truck. I would keep not only my tools, I'd keep my lunch, my spare pair of FR coveralls in there, whatever I needed. I will never forget the day when one of the hands on location came over to my truck and he saw a pack of baby wipes in the front seat of my truck. And he goes, "Baby wipes? What are these? What are you, gay?" I
Oh man.
stopped for a second and I said, "What?" I said, "Wait, cleaning yourself makes you gay? Like what?" Like he said, "Oh, those are just for women and kids." I was like, I really didn't know that a personal product, like to clean yourself after you go to the restroom, I had no idea that could be gendered in such a way or
Right.
labeled in such a
Yeah.
way. And man, Chris, that was just the beginning of things like that you would hear out there. Same thing with lotion. I've even heard the same thing about freaking chapstick. Like, how do these things like you? When I think about toxic masculinity, I think about toxic masculinity and that's those kind of like
Yeah.
ways because how can taking care of your body be any of those things or make you any of those things? Like I'm trying to,
Yeah.
I want soft skin, I want a clean ass. Like
Yeah.
what are we talking about here?
Yeah, exactly. And in that sense of you can't take care of yourself and taking care of yourself is weakness is one of those things that is like so dangerous because
So asinine.
so many men they don't take care of themselves and then
No,
they end up in these places that are just it's bad for them to
so
end up
bad.
in that place, right? Yeah.
It's so bad. The amount of
Yeah.
men that I've seen not take care of themselves, complain about, a litany of illnesses or this or that aches or this or that hurts and just the things that they would do. And then I would see them have three monsters in a sandwich all day and we're talking a 12-hour day out in the
Yeah.
field, out on site. Like you're, putting yourself to work. This isn't a desk job, right? You're burning calories. The way that they would eat and feed themselves and take care of themselves and not sleep and, smoke and all these things to these levels, it was just asinine to me in so many ways.
So thanks for sharing that that example of toxicity. Y- y- Personal development seems really important to you.
Oh yeah.
What are some things that you're working on right now? You've had all of these things that you've worked on throughout your journey. Like, what are the things you're working on right now?
A book I'm reading right now is called Eat That Frog, and it's about tackling your task in the day, prioritizing what you need to prioritize and how, and really just putting your most important tasks first and getting them done. As someone that's grown up with ADD, my attention has been known to flutter, if you will, and doing everything I can and using all the tools at my disposal to get my attention in line, get my task lined out that I need to do and tackled. So I don't have any feelings of anxiety or so I don't have those feelings of, oh man, I didn't get around to everything I needed to do today, or I'm going to have so much to do tomorrow because of this or that have been so huge for me. So I'm really enjoying this book. I'm really enjoying the prioritizing task and tackling them in the most efficient order that they need to phase of my life right now. As well as continuing my martial arts journey and trying to get all the self development I can out of getting beat up by my friends and still loving them at the end of the day.
That's a good way of putting that. I hadn't really thought about martial arts in that way, but that really is what it is, right? Martial
Yeah,
arts, boxing, any of those things.
yeah,
It's a matter of like putting yourself through the ringer with people that you care about, and maybe it's sometimes strangers, but it
yeah.
can be the people that you care about. But you're helping each other grow through the process, right?
Oh yeah, going to war. And I say going to war, it feels like it sometimes. If you we typically will spar 3 or 5 minute rounds. Sparring with somebody 3 minutes as hard as you can, giving it all you got, and then going to hang out and laugh with them, or going to have food with them afterwards, or going to hang out at their place and play video games, or do something like bonding wise outside of that activity. It's a very surreal experience because this guy was just punching you and kicking you in the head 30 minutes ago. And now
Yeah.
you guys are hanging out like it's all good. Like it's just being able to go to that place and come back from it. It's such a unique experience that I've never felt with pretty much anything else in my entire life.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, because one of the things that really interests me, when in relationship to men, is like how men find community.
Yeah.
And so, you mentioned that your partner is somebody who really supports you and
Mhm.
helps you grow and everything. But where else do you rely on for support, and where do you kind of create and find community?
I used to try to find community through my coworkers who I worked with. Kind of naturally, because working in the oil and gas industry, you work really long hours. I worked 12-hour days, sometimes as long as 16-hour days. So I spent a lot of time with these guys. So I would look for friendship or look for people that I wanted to hang out with in these places and spaces. Sometimes with success, most of the time without success, because we just didn't see eye to eye ideologically in many ways. My biggest, my most consistent place of support or finding like-minded individuals, or finding other men that I can lean on, or that I respect more than anything, that I find a ton of respect for and admiration in, has been the combat sports world. It's not perfect. There's still a ton of people, and I've run across a ton of individuals that I don't see eye to eye with. But this has been the most consistent place, whether it's going to visit other gyms and their open mats, whether it's going to competitions that are hosted around Denver, around town. It's always the same. It seems to be the same crowd there that I see consistently. And the more and more get to meet these people and get to know them, it just builds that community. It's been the most consistent place for me to really find my people, if you will.
Yeah, it's like, so what does that do for you when you're around your people? Like,
Yeah.
what does that feel like? What does it do for you?
It's a huge sense of unspoken, like, it's unspoken peace, like it's
Mm,
unspoken words. It's being able to understand each other without even saying anything. Like, it's being able to understand each other and feel like somebody knows you and understands you from a, like, unspoken place. Where typically you'll find a ton of neurodivergent people in these communities as well,
hmm,
surprisingly enough, which present that presents a very unique place of understanding in and of itself. As someone, if you've been around neurodivergent people, you understand some of their tics or things or that they do, or some of their struggles, and you kind of see that in each other because you've seen it in yourself and you've understood it in yourself as well. And instead of looking at some of these individuals as odd or different or weird or anything like that, it feels very, I don't know, it feels very welcoming. It feels like a sense of, these are my people. Like, I understand them. They understand
yeah,
me. They understand I'm not always going to be this chipper, happy go lucky self every day. I have good days. I have bad days, just like
yeah.
everyone. Some days I have bad mental health days, just like others. And we see that and we give each other space and support in those ways, without judgment or without looking at them like, why aren't you on 100 today? Why aren't you on go? Why aren't you perfect? Like, it's some of those unspoken, just kind of vibes and feelings that you get from people.
What do you do to take care of your mental health?
I think being around the people that make me happy is probably one of the best things. Being in my gym, it's crazy enough as it is. I feel like the scientific reasoning or the link between oxytocin release in the brain from the human contact, like physical human contact, even in a
Yeah.
combat sports sense, it does wonders for me. Taking time to research things that I enjoy, taking time for my creative outlets. I've been kind of dabbling in the t-shirt and creative design business lately as a fun little creative artistic outlet of mine. Believe it or not, going to the gym, crushing a big workout, and then coming home and spending some time making a really good meal, some of the best things that I do to support my mental health, because they go hand in hand so well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, I think you've kind of hinted at this, but what does male friendship play in your life? Like, your closest male friends, like what are they? What's the biggest positive that, or and maybe not even the positive, but like, what's the function that they play in your life?
They play a function of support and honesty. Sometimes honesty when I'm not able to be honest with myself, or they also play another role of an outside perspective looking in. I understand whenever they give me their opinion on something or they give me advice or input on something, they're not completely unbiased. They have my best interest in mind, so they're looking out for me. But I I try to listen to and hear their advice as this is another filter I can run something through. This is
Yeah.
another set of checkpoints and checks and balances that are in place in my life to help protect me and help protect my best interest at the end of the day. But also, as someone who grew up without siblings, I grew up as the only child. My friends have been my de facto siblings my entire life. Like they've been an extension of
Yeah.
my family.
Yeah, my son is an only child as well, and I think he'd probably say the same thing. I'm one of four, so I don't have that experience, but it's definitely when you're an only child, you have to kind of surround yourself
Yeah.
by friends. And
Oh
I
yeah.
appreciated there's something you said earlier that made me think of like one of the roles that my friends play for me is to make sure I'm not believing my own BS. Right?
That's
They'll
huge.
call me out, right? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. I love to hear, when I'm at the gym or I'm training rounds, like if I'm training for a grappling event or a pro show, um, I'm tired. I'm cooked off to the side of the mat. They can tell. My friends are also some of my closest training partners as well. They're like, no, you're not done. Get back in there. Get back in there for another round. Get back in there for another 2 rounds. Like you're stop breathing heavy. You're not done. Like you have more in the tank and you need to find it. You need to push yourself to these places. That I appreciate because it's hard to feel that and know that in those moments. Our brain tries to protect us from harm and keep us safe at all times. So 9 times out of 10, when your brain's telling you, no, I'm done, I'm cooked, like I don't have any more in the tank, this is it. There is so much more still left in the tank. You just got to dig deeper and find it.
yeah, absolutely. It's a great role for really anybody in your life to play for you. But I think
Oh
men
yeah.
can we push each other in ways that
Oh yeah.
as long as it's like a healthy kind of pushing,
Mhm.
it can be incredibly valuable for us.
Incredibly valuable.
So let's switch into our lightning round where I've got 11 questions for you.
Okay.
They don't have to be like super quick answers, but it don't feel a need to like write a novel about each one. But I ask these questions of every single one of our guests.
All right.
So let's just jump right in. What are your top three values?
Honor, self discipline, and courage. Without fear, there is no courage. And if we're honest with ourselves, we fear a lot of things in life. From the hardest fighters I know to the hardest military guys that I know, we all have fear. And without fear, there is no courage. So
Yeah.
finding things that you're afraid of and that you fear and going forth in the face of fear is where you find courage. Being self disciplined, doing what you say you're going to do, what you set your mind to do, and doing it. And being someone that others will look at and see that you carry yourself with honor and that you do what you say you're going to do and that what you how you show up in the world means something to you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to put that there is no courage without fear on a
Yeah.
billboard,
Yeah.
because it's like courage exists because you're scared witless,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah. So fantastic.
Love it.
So who would you say was one role model that you've had in your life?
Physical role models, not too many. Um, if I had to pick a physical role model in my real life, it would be my coaches and my professors. Not for like who they typically actually are as people in the world, but how they carry themselves and how they treat others. The
Hmm.
amount of humility, the amount of respect, the amount of just overall human just kindness and empathy that is displayed by them has been huge. Um, as far as other role models, dude, Jocko Willink has been a great role model to me, mainly just for the mindset and the leadership aspects. As someone who grew up without strong leaders in his life, I really value that leadership mentality, and I really value that setting the example and leading at the front of the pack.
Can you talk a little bit about him? As I'm not familiar with the name.
Yeah, Jocko Willink is an ex-military guy. He's written a ton of books. He's written a ton of. He has a clothing company. It's called Origin. They sell gis, rash guards, you name it.
Okay.
Man has done a ton of things, from TED Talks to podcasts all over the world. Done a ton of good things, and is someone that I look at as a just really not only hardened leader that has been in some of the worst places in the world and seen some of the nastiest shit, but leads from the front of the pack.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look him up. Thank you for the
Yeah,
recommendation there. So, who do you think, or who do you hope that you are a role model for?
I hope that I'm a role model for my daughter more than anything, and I hope that I'm a role model for guys that may feel stuck, like guys that are in a job they hate, or that are just kind of doing the monotony things within life, that are just showing up, clocking in, doing whatever they need to, clocking out, that might be unhappy with themselves, they might be unhappy with their body, they might be unhappy with the relationship, or just their overall outlook on life. That once you set a goal and a plan in place and you start taking action, you start sticking with that every single day, not only when you see results, but sticking with your plan every single day. I want to be a role model for these people, that there's hope and that you can change your life by simply changing your actions every single day.
Getting guys unstuck, like
Yeah,
so important.
it's
So,
so important. I was
yeah.
that person for so long, and getting out of there has been life changing.
So, what's the one way that you make the world a better place for others?
Being a positive, energetic source of not not only empathy, but combined with a bit of empathy, push, and passion together. I I feel like I approach fitness and my own personal training clients from a different mindset. I try to look at myself as the anti personal trainer, in the sense of, I'm not going to be in there screaming and yelling. I'm not going to be in there pushing you till you can't walk. I'm not going to be in there doing all these like rah things, because that's not what most people need, and that's what pushes a lot of people out. I'm not the personal trainer that asks for progress pictures, or is checking waist measurements and doing all these things day in, week in and week out, because I want people to feel good about themselves and who they are as a person, and feel energy in life and what they're capable of and what their body's capable of, more than just how it looks. So I'd love to inspire and empower people to find that intrinsic light within
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah. How we feel instead of how we look. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
so
great.
huge.
So, question number 5. What is the hardest thing about being you in today's world?
I think the hardest thing about being me in today's world is keeping up with all the responsibilities we feel as men, whether it be finances, our own self growth, our body, our ability, um, where our time is spent, and drowning out all the charlatans and outside noise and
Hmm.
negative red pill influences that are so prevalent for men in today's society. I'm talking the Andrew Tates, I'm talking all the shitty, just toxic influences out there, because those things are meant to, and we're constantly told as men, forget about your feelings. Your feelings don't matter, have no place in this world. Just grind, head down, grind, be a machine, grind. Like, feelings do nothing. When in reality, feelings drive a ton of our actions in
Yeah,
this life. And feelings are what make us human and separate us from computers and machines.
yeah, yeah. I love the way you said that. Yeah. So, speaking of feelings,
Yeah.
what's your favorite emotion?
I think my favorite emotion is fear, because it tells me
Hmm.
there's something I need to face and something I need to overcome. Um, there's something that I haven't spent enough time doing the work on, which is driving this feeling of fear and unknown. And I need to drill into it, and I need to face it and really get into it and figure out why I'm feeling that way in the first place.
When I was thinking about all the different answers that our guests might give to that. I don't think fear ever came on that list. So I kind of love that. Thank you.
Good, good.
Yeah. What's your least favorite emotion?
Envy.
Hmm.
Envy is the greatest theft of joy and happiness that is out there. Comparing ourselves to others. Um, Envy and comparison is the greatest thief of joy that exists. And that's probably my least favorite emotion to ever experience or ever feel from others.
How do you, I'm going to ask a little bit of a follow up there. How do you like manage that? Because we all have envy in us, right? I don't know if it's a natural human thing, but it's
Mhm.
certainly a conditioned human thing.
Sure.
And so how do you manage that in yourself?
Trying to dig into why I'm feeling that way. Asking myself why consistently does wonders for me. Why am I feeling envious of this person that has a really cool car that I like, or this really cool thing that I want? And it's because I actually like it, and I might not feel comfortable going up to them and telling them that I just like their things, or I might feel like, well, I need to get my finances in order better, or I need to do this or that so I can go have these things too. Asking and drilling down into the why I'm feeling that way, and it typically comes from a place of appreciating something that somebody else has, or some a decision that somebody else made or did, and it's one of those, oh, man, I wish I would have thought of that, or I wish I would have done that, or that person's stealing my style, or this or that thing like that. It's typically from a place of, I don't know, I want to say appreciation in some sense, because I see that there's a commonality between us. Like, they like something that I like. All right, cool. They bought something that I would buy. All right, cool. Like that, I
Yeah.
can see some common ground between us. And instead of just going up to them and saying that, it we typically get faced with this. Oh man, I wanted that thing, or oh, what are they doing? And facing that and drilling down why and asking that why repeatedly, why. I think that
Yeah.
does a lot for me.
And you have to learn to celebrate others.
You have to learn
Yeah.
to celebrate others and not try to compare yourself to others, and find love in your own unique version of yourself, because
Yeah.
nobody is you. You're never going to be anybody else. The best thing you can do and the thing that you're best at is being you. So don't try to be anyone else.
What brings you the most joy in life?
Overcoming fear and seeing the happiness that I can bring to and provide for my daughter in all the ways that I didn't get or have grown up.
What makes you most proud of yourself?
Facing things that have held me back, and not only things that have held me back, but evolving my mindset as I grow older, and finding that purpose to show up for and provide in the world, and actually truly authentically live, not just exist or be alive, but live.
Yeah, there's a big difference between those two things,
Yeah,
isn't it? And
big difference. And
yeah.
it took me so many years to realize it, Chris. I felt like a zombie when I look back at, I mean, even just the 7 year stretch I spent working in oil and gas, I was a zombie. I feel like a shell of myself, chasing material things, drinking, just going to work, going home, going to work. I had no hobbies. I had no other interests. I felt like a zombie. I was just existing. Like, I wasn't truly living though.
Yeah, I think there's something there to explain why so many men are like moths to the toxic flame,
Yeah.
right? I think it's because they haven't discovered how to live.
Nope. And I am so grateful. I was so grateful when I found martial arts, because it's brought me a ton of purpose and passion, and it's helped me unearth a ton of these passions that have probably always been there in my life and present in me, but actually take the time to seize them and act on them.
So I think I might know the answer to this question based on the previous part of our conversation, but where can you feel the most yourself?
I feel the most myself with all my training partners, with all my friends, my family trains as well. So having that community and being with that crowd, just I feel like the most myself. These are the people that have seen me sweat, bleed, cry. These are the people that have seen me do everything. And they pour into me in all the ways that just help me be my best self and help fill my cup in every way possible.
So, as we wrap up today, what's the one thing that you hope people take away from this conversation?
I really hope people try to find their why and ask themselves what's really keeping them stuck. Like what the thing is that's keeping them stuck, and try to really drill down into it and examine their thoughts as much as they can. Our thoughts have a huge impact on our life and our actions. Where our mind goes, our body usually follows. So by controlling your thoughts, you're going to do a really good job at controlling a lot of your actions. Be kinder to yourself. Speak kindly to yourself. Give yourself some grace. We're human. You're not going to make big changes overnight or undo years of bad habits in one day. Set a plan in place, work at these things religiously, stick to them, and see them through. Set a goal. Set things that you want to not only have, but you want to do for yourself. But instead of just setting goals, look for a different identity. Look for another identity that you want to adopt. Don't go to the gym with the mindset of, oh, I'm going to get a six pack abs. Go adopt the identity of someone who does have that and start living that. Start showing up that way in all the ways that you can imagine. And before you know it, you'll look in the mirror and boom, you'll see a six pack. It'll be there. Just keep showing up. Just keep doing the work. Stick to what you say you're going to do and freaking do it. If you can't be accountable to yourself and do the things you tell yourself you're going to do, you're probably going to struggle being accountable to and keeping your word to other people in your life.
Fantastic. That's a wonderful thought to end on. Thank you so much, Anthony, for being a part of the podcast today. I think your example and your story is an inspirational one that a lot of other men will kind of be able to attach onto. So
I hope so. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you for being on the show today.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, keep up the good work. You can learn more about Illuminate at illuminate.substack.com. We are also streaming on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Thanks for listening and watching, and we'll see you at the next episode of Illuminate.